last class we talked about formulating equations and solving one-step equations. So today we're just going to do a review. So make sure you take notes on your note sheet. You go through and make sure you understand how to set up the equations and solve them. But setting up the equations is one of the most important things about this unit. So make sure you can write the equation from the word problem, and then the second part is to solve it. Okay? We're going to first of all go over that homework, that quiz-ease assignment that you had. I have all the problems in your notes so that you can review with me. And then we're going to just review for a couple problems, and then I'm going to give you a graded assignment. So number one, Speedy Boat Rental charges a $15 deposit fee plus $2 for each hour of use to rent a paddle boat. If it costs a total of $25 for the day, write an equation to solve for how many hours the boat was running. So if you look at your answer choices, you have 4 equations here. We want to first of all always start out with the total. It says if it costs a total of $25 for the day. So we're looking for equations that give a total of 25. A has a total of 25. B has a total of 25. C does not have a total of 25, so we know C cannot be the answer. And D isn't even an equation. It's an expression, so D is not going to be the answer. Now we go back and we look at the rest of the problem. It says Speedy Boat Rental charges a $15 deposit fee plus $2 for each hour. We know that deposit fees are a one-time fee. So that one-time fee is going to be our constant. Then you are adding $2 each hour or every hour. That means multiplication. So on number 1, A is your correct answer. We have 15 plus 2 times X equals 25. Number 2, Margaret is a waitress at the seasonal or seafood Bonanza. She made $3 per hour plus tips. If she works 8 hours and brings home $85, write an equation to show how much she brings home in tips. First of all, $85 is going to be my total. There's only one equation in here that does not have $85 as the total, and it's this one right here. So D is definitely not it. The rest of them have $85 as a total. Now we need to look into the rest of the problem. She made $3 per hour plus tips. So you want to look for addition here. You have addition in A and C, but you have subtraction in B, so you know that's not correct. $3 per hour would be 3 times H. Plus tips is plus T. Now, if you look, what I said just then is part A, or is letter A. However, it goes on to say she worked 8 hours. So if I worked 8 hours for $3 per hour, then I would make $24, and then I'm going to add tips to equal $85. C is your more correct equation because it gives us how many hours she actually worked. We don't want to leave hours as H. We want to leave it as $24 that she made. Number 3, at Joe's Clown Car Rental Agency, renting a car costs $35 plus 75 cents for every mile it is driven. What is an equation that can be used to find the number of miles, M, a vehicle was driven if the total rental charge was $222.50? Once again, look for that $222.50 as your total because that is our total. And in every problem, every equation, you have $222.50 as your total. It's all at the beginning of the equations, but that's fine. Now we want to look at the rest of the problem. You rent a car costs $35 plus 75 cents for every mile. So you're looking for $35 and then plus. So I see $35 plus here. I see plus 35M. I don't see plus 35. Okay, so C would be out. I see 35 plus on this one, and I also see 35 plus on this one. Okay? Now, what are you adding to 35? Well, you're adding 75 cents for every mile. On A, we're adding 75 cents. And then it looks like that total is multiplied by M. That gets real complicated. It's not A. On B, you're adding 75 cents per mile to that one-time fee of 35. That is going to be your answer. On D, you're not taking 75 cents and multiplying it by the number of miles and multiplying it by 35. So D cannot be your answer either. Look through each one. There's easily ways to, clear out all the wrong answers so that you know which one is the right answer. Number 4, roaming cell phone company charges $15 per month plus 20 cents per minute. So, Juanita uses X minutes of airtime and her total bill costs $41. That is our total. Where's 41 as the total? You got 41 as the total on A, 41 as the total on C, 41 as the total on B, and 41 as the total on D. So now we need to know which one says the rest of it. $15 per month. $15 per month means 15 times the number of months. Since it doesn't tell us how many months in here, we're going to go with 15 times the variable, or 15x. If you look in A, we got 15x right here. C just has 15. That's not multiplied by anything, so you know C is out. 15 has to be the coefficient in your problem. B, you have a constant of 15, not a coefficient, so B is out. And then D says 15 times 20 cents times X. So that's real messed up, okay? So we want to make sure that we read the problem again, and we got to look and see $15 per month plus 20 cents per minute. A lot of you are going to think per month means times the number of months. And I get that, 15x. But I just realized while reading this, it's not really 15 times M. We want to know the relationship between the total cost and the number of airtime minutes used. It doesn't say anything about months. It doesn't say that M is the number of months. It says that X is the number of minutes used. So really, we are going to go back. Let me clear out. See, even your teacher makes mistakes. And we're going to look at this again. 15 is going to be a one-time fee. So we got 15 here. This is 15 times X. That's not going to work. We got 15 here, and we got 15 here. But that's weird because that's not really 15. It's 15 times. So that's out. Now, what are we doing to that 15? We are adding 20 cents per minute. 20 cents per minute is 20 cents times X, which is B. My bad. So, hope you caught that because I definitely misread that. And I did not read the whole problem before I started trying to write that equation. Number 5, Lisa went to the mall to do her back-to-school shopping. She bought one shirt for $25 and 3 pair of pants. She also used a coupon for $15 off. If she spent a total of $110, which equation shows how to find out how much each pair of pants cost? What is my total here? It's $110. It's not P. It's not 3P. It's 110. So now what did she buy? Well, she bought one shirt for $25. So 25 should show up once. And 3 pair of pants. And a coupon for $15 off. She spent a total of $110. We got the total. So we're going to take 25 and we're going to add it to 3 pair of pants. We don't know how much the pants cost. We just know that there are 3. So we got 25 plus our 3P. And what does a coupon do? It takes off money, so minus 15. So B is going to be your answer on that one. Norris is a waiter in a diner. He earns $4 per hour plus 95% of his tips. In one 5-hour shift, he brought home $67.50. Which equation shown can help determine how much he brought home in tips? Well, our total here is $67.50. It's not going to be X. So D is out. $4 per hour plus 95% of his tips. But then it goes on to say he works 5-hour shift. So $4 per hour is actually 4 times 5. Okay? $4 per hour would be 4H, but we would make it 4 times 5 because we know the number of hours. So 4 times 5 shows up right here, and 4 times 5 shows up right here. We're good so far. It doesn't show up in C, so it's not good. Plus, we got a plus sign in both of them, 95% of his tips. I've talked to you about percentages several times. The first thing, turn it to a decimal. I look at these, both of these are turned to a decimal. The second thing is you have to multiply it by that variable. You're not adding it to the variable like this one. You're multiplying it by the variable like this. So 4 times 5 plus 0.95 times x is going to equal 6750. A. Biggest thing in formulating equations is finding that total first. All right, let's look at 7, 8, 9, and 10. We are solving one-step equations. When you're solving equations, number one thing, circle your terms. I got a 9 and a plus k. We want our k to be positive. We want our variable to be positive. So you look at the 9. That 9 is actually a positive 9. To get rid of that positive 9, we will do the inverse of adding 9 and we will subtract 9. K is going to equal 18 minus 9, which is 9. On number 8, we have negative 11 plus r. Now, once again, we are not looking at the sign in front of the variable. We're happy that's positive, but that is not telling us what to do in the problem to solve it. We're looking at the sign in front of that constant. Right now, that says minus 11. So we will add 11 to solve this. R is going to equal 31. On number 9, we have x divided by 3 equals negative 15. I'm going to circle that term. I know that there is division in that, and it's dividing by 3. So to solve it and get rid of that dividing by 3, I will multiply by 3. The inverse of division is multiplication. Just like the inverse of addition is subtraction, the inverse of subtraction is addition, the inverse of division is multiplication. Negative 15 times 3 is negative 45. So x is going to equal negative 45. And number 10, we got one term here, and that is a multiplication term. Negative 4.5 times x equals negative 14.4. The inverse of multiplication is to divide by negative 4.5. Please don't make the mistake of adding 4.5 on this one. If it is multiplication or division, you do not change the sign, as in the negative or the positive sign in front of the number. It stays negative. If it's a constant, you're going to either add or subtract. But if it's a coefficient, you're going to multiply or divide. So we're going to divide by negative 4.5. So we have negative 14.4. Make sure you notice that's negative. Divided by negative 4.5. 14.4 divided by 4.5. I know it's going to be a positive because there's two negatives. And it's going to be a positive 3.2. Now, if you're wondering about any of these, take your answer, what you got for the variable, and substitute it back into the problem. So on number 7, we would do 9 plus 9. 9 plus 9 equals 18, just like we have in our total. Number 8, negative 11 plus 31 is going to equal 20, just like we have in our total. Number 9, we have negative 45 over 3 is going to equal negative 15, just like we have as our total. And number 10, negative 4.5 times 3.2 is going to equal a negative 14.4, just like we have in our total right there. So you can always substitute in and check your answers. All right, so just a little review from last class. And I mean, the homework is a review, but this is more new stuff for you. We want to review formulating equations, and then we want to review solving, because you're going to do both of those on your quiz. So this first one says, you sell newspapers to buy a new pair of soccer cleats that costs $36.99. You have already saved $15 from a previous job you did, and you can also make 75 cents for every newspaper you sell. Write an equation that shows how many newspapers you need to sell in order to buy the soccer cleats. The main problem that I see when people are formulating equations is that they're trying to work the problem as they're writing the equation. You don't want to do that. Start out with the total every time. What's your total here? $36.99. Why is that the total? You want to buy a new pair of cleats that costs $36.99. You need $36.99 to do this. So $36.99 is my total. Now, what have you done to get this total? Well, you've saved $15. Not $15 a month, but just $15 total. Okay, well, obviously 15 is not equal to $36.99, so we got to do something else. We're also going to make, which means to add, 75 cents for every newspaper. That's your keyword for multiplication. If we don't know how many newspapers, because it tells us we don't in our problem if you keep reading, then we're going to do 75 cents times the number of newspapers. Now, when you take that, you will be able to solve this eventually and find out exactly how many newspapers you need in order to get $36.99 if you add the $15 already saved and the newspapers. Okay? Number 2, a triangle has sides of 2x, 4, and 3x. If the perimeter of the triangle is 36 inches, write an equation to find the value of x. Well, first of all, we need the total. The total in this is 36. How do we know it's the total? Because it talks about it being the perimeter, and perimeter is a total. Now you know something else about a total. Total is all the sides added up. Well, a triangle has 3 sides, and they're listed. 2x plus 4 plus 3x. Those are all your sides. That's your equation. Now, I'm not going to make you go one step further. If I was going to start to solve this equation, I would circle my terms, and I would simplify the left side. I have like terms here, and I got 2x and 3x, which is 5x, plus 4 is going to equal 36. So that could be my other equation that I write, but I would rather you start out with the 2x plus 4 plus 3x equals 36. John had $75 when he entered the fair. He bought 10 ride tickets that all cost the same amount. He left the fair with $52.50. Write an equation that shows how much each ride ticket cost. Okay, first of all, you got to figure out your total. It's very easily to mistake your total on this one because it tells you that he had $75. However, what is his most current total? Well, he left the fair with $52.50. $52.50 is going to be what you have right now. And you ask, well, how did I get to that $52.50? Well, what did he start out with? 75. That's going to go first. Then he bought 10 ride tickets. So minus, because bought, 10 ride tickets, well, we don't know how much they cost, but they all cost the same amount. Well, that same amount can be X. So he's going to buy, so minus 10 times X. So $75 is what he started with, and then he bought 10 ride tickets, and now it equals his $52.50, or his total. Last one, Anthony ate half a bag of candy, then gave away 7 pieces to his friend. We did this in class last time, but I want to explain it again. He now has a bag of candy, now has 5 pieces left. If it's talking about having pieces left, y'all, that is your total. Okay, that's the most current number of pieces we know. What we don't know is how many pieces he started with. It tells us that in the last sentence. So read all the way through these problems. Now, if he took that candy bag and he ate half of it, there's 2 ways to write that. You can write it as 1/2 times C, or you can take C and not divide it by 1/2, but divide it by just 2. Okay? So now what happened then? He gave away 7 minus 7, gave away 7, and he has 5 left. So either of those equations would be good to work with. I like the divided by 2 one. I think that's a great one. That's the easier one to solve, easier one to look at. To me, that's just the best one. Okay? Some of you in class even did this. And that's totally fine as well, because that's the same thing as your first one. That's half of C. All right, so now we're going to practice solving. Once again, to determine how to solve an equation, you have to use the inverse operations. Adding, in versus subtraction. Subtraction, in versus adding. Multiplication, in versus dividing. Dividing, in versus multiplication. Okay? These are the most important things you can know in order to solve an equation. So we're going to solve these 4, and I think we're going to be done. All right, my first one, and it's just solving one step. You're not solving more than one step. My first one is this right here. It says negative 3.4 times k equals negative 59.5. When you look at this negative 3.4 times k, you need to recognize that you're not subtracting here. You are multiplying. And if you're multiplying, then what is the inverse of multiplication? It is division. So write down that division sign. What are we dividing by? Negative 3.4. So When we do it in our calculator, and we can do it in our calculator because it's our decimals, make sure you put in your negatives. A negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive. 59.5 divided by 3.4 is 17.5. And this is going to be K equals 17.5. Now I'm going to double check this. I'm going to put negative 3.4 times 17.5 in my calculator, and it ends up that I have negative 59.4. So what I did is I just substituted it in, and I checked it. And then when I got my answer, it equals the same total that I started out with in my problem, so I know it's correct. All right, my next one. Negative 18.3 equals x divided by 4. This one's a little different because the x is on the right-hand side, but you still work it the same way. I am dividing by 4 in my actual equation, so to solve, I will multiply by 4, and that's going to get rid of the dividing by 4. It leaves my x by itself on one side, which is all I want, and then I just have to work this problem. Negative 18.3 times 4, and I'm going to get negative 73.2. Well, I'm going to check my answer, and I'm going to take negative 73.2, and I'm going to divide it by 4, because I'm just substituting it in for x. And I'm going to check that in my calculator, and I got negative 18.3, which is the same thing that I started with up here. All right, now we go to this one. I told you with fractions, as long as they turn into a terminating decimal, then you're good to go on them. Okay, my first fraction, negative 2 1/4, would be negative 2.1 divided by 4 is 0.25 equals negative 1 2/5 would be negative 1 point, then do 2 divided by 5, which is 0.4 plus y. Just made this a lot less complicated by turning them into decimals. Negative 2.25 equals negative 1.4 plus y. You're going to circle your terms. That's a negative 1.4 by itself, and your plus y is by itself. So this is not multiplication or division. You are going to see what is happening in the problem. So this is a subtraction sign, and we're going to do the inverse of it, plus 1.4. Please don't work this problem right here by hand. Okay? Use your calculator. I'm going to get rid of my negative 1.4 by adding 1.4. So negative 2.25 plus 1.4, make sure you have the negative on there. And I got negative 0.85 equals my y. Now I'm going to try this. I'm going to put it back into my problem. Negative 1.4 plus, my answer was negative 0.85. Negative 1.4 plus negative 0.85, and I got negative 2.25 in my calculator, so I know that I solved that correctly. That's your answer. All right, my next one. I have more fractions. Let's see if I can turn these into decimals. W minus 4 2/5 would be 4.2 divided by 5 is 0.4. That works. Equals 1/10. You should know what 1/10 is without putting it in your calculator. 0.1. All right, I'm going to circle W, negative 4.4. What am I doing in my problem? I am subtracting. So how do I solve it? I will add 4.4. W is going to equal 0.1 plus 4.4, and that's going to give me 4.5. Now I'm going to double check this answer. Put it in for W, 4.5 minus 4.4, and in my calculator I have 0.1, which is what we started with as a total in the first place. Okay? So, inverse operation. You should be doing one step to solve these equations. Now, what you're going to do now is you're going to complete a two-sided graded assignment. The first side looks like this. On this side right here, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start with this word problem. I'm going to give you the answer to this. You just got to remember which one it is. It says a one-year membership to your local gym costs $539. There is an initial sign-up fee of $55. Write an equation you can use to find out how much you pay per month. All right, so that's your question. We are given 3 opportunities to decide which one is the equation for that. It's either going to be x plus 50 equals 300, x plus 35 equals 539, or 12x plus 35 equals 539. Now, how do we start this equation? Well, we look for the total. Your local gym cost $539. Well, you have an equals $539 here and equals $539 here. This one equals $300. Which one do you know it's not? Okay, so we know it's not this first one. Don't color it, don't do anything to it, don't even X it out. Well, I guess you can X it out if you want. Okay, that means it's between one of these two. It says a 1-year membership to your local gym costs $539. So we got our total there. There is an initial sign-up fee of $35. What do we know about initial sign-up fees? It's a one-time fee. So we got a one-time fee here of $35 and a one-time fee here of $35. Then it goes on to say, write an equation you can use to find out how much you pay per month. So it told us a 1-year membership. So how many months are in a year? Well, there's 12. That means you'll be paying that monthly fee 12 times. Which one of those equations shows a monthly fee of 12 times? It is not this one right here. That has a one-time fee of $30 and a 1-month fee right there. This one has 12 months at X cost, a $35 initial fee, and then a total of $539. So what you're going to do on this one is you're going to shade this in, just color it in like that, and you can circle this one because that's your next problem that you're going to do. Notice, I did not go from here to here, okay? Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to eventually make my way to that problem, but there's nothing else that needs to be shaded. So I wouldn't even suggest marking them out like that. I would just leave them alone. Now, from this problem, you have 2 options. You can go to this way or you can go this way. You have to see which one of those equations matches your word problem, okay? Now, on the back of that sheet is more word problems, but now you're going to write the one-step equation and then you're going to solve it. Make sure when you write equations, you do not end the equation with X. You don't want to put your total as X, okay? This needs to be turned into the box with your name on it by the end of class. There is no extension on this one unless you get checked out or if you're absent, okay? If you have questions about the day, please email me, but you will not get an immediate response because I will be out and about, okay? So email me and I will respond back to you as soon as possible, and I hope you'll have a great day. I hope you are on your best behavior as well.